Hello guys, Krevin here, and welcome back to another great clan of the Skaven lore overview video. Today we will be looking at Clan Pestilens. If you haven't seen any of my 3 previous videos, I can't suggest strongly enough that you go back and check those out. The first one's just going to be an overview of Skaven lore in general, giving you an idea of who they are generally as a faction. And then I have an overview of Clan Scryer, and then an overview of Clan Molder. But today, we're talking about Pestilens. They have a lot of really rich lore, lots of very cool, unique units, and they definitely have a very different spin than either Clan Scryer or Clan Molder do in the Skaven lore. So without further ado, let's dive right in and have a great time. So what really characterizes Clan Pestilens is the way they devote themselves to the Horn Rat, especially as the Horn Rat displays himself as plague and disease and decay. They invite that into their bodies, which makes them basically living hosts carrying all the different plagues and nasty biological decay and virulent diseases that the Storm Rat wants to inflict upon the world. It doesn't affect them too badly in a sense that it won't kill them. They have to live with the pain and the misery of the plagues, but they consider it a blessing from the Horned Rat. To really understand how this kind of relationship started between Clan Pestilens and the Horned Rat, we have to turn back the clock a little bit in Skaven lore to the time when the Council of 13 weren't known as the Lords of Decay, but as the Grey Lords, and the time of the Great Migration. The time of the Great Migration was basically soon after Skaven Blight had been established. 12 great leaders and prophets of the Horned Rat basically walked out of the Horned Rat's temple in the middle of Skaven Blight and led clans out to populate the rest of the world and to create tunnels, create tunnels and different cities at different parts of the world, so that eventually during the time of Great Ascendancy, which was to come in the future and near the end times part of Warhammer lore, the Skaven will be able to rise up and consume the overworld and make the Under Empire basically a reality by enslaving the Over Empire. So during this time of Great Migration, Clan Pestilens somehow found its way into Lustria, which is kind of like the new world in the old Warhammer, on the old Warhammer map. And the new world over in Lustria is populated by the Lizardmen. So at first the clan was decimated by the virulent tropical diseases of the jungles over there. Their minds were racked with insane visions, and on the verge of annihilation, they dedicated themselves to the plagues of the Horned Rat, arising anew as devotees of disease. Led by their new leader, Lord Nurglich I, the newly formed clan set out to conquer Lustria, destroying several temple cities of the Lizardmen and killing hundreds of Lizardmen with their plagues. At this point, it seemed as if the Skaven were basically unstoppable, but then the cult of Sotek arose, led by, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this name, but Tehenuin. A large host of red-crested skinks and Saurus began driving back the disease-ridden throngs, liberating those cities which had come under siege and sacrificing those Skaven captured in battle. Eventually, the red host of the Lizardmen drove the foul ratmen of Clan Pestilens to Fuming Serpent Island, where Clan Pestilens was finally driven away from Lustria. It was at this time that Clan Pestilens started migrating back to the old world and eventually reached Skaven Blight. Pestilens, having made their base in the Southlands, then returned to Skaven Blight, long presumed lost by the rest of Skavendom. On returning, the clan demanded a place upon the Council of 13. Warpstone tithe rights, among other things which come with a membership on the Council of 13. When their demands were answered by the rest of Skaven kind with only the execution of their emissaries, typical Skaven politics right there, Clan Pestilens retaliated by unleashing their most virulent diseases upon the other clans, initiating the first Skaven Civil War. The Pestilens clan was also going to be responsible for the second Skaven Civil War, but that comes a little bit later. The war continued for about 400 years, with the south being dominated by the Plaguelords and the north being held by the Council. It was not until the reemergence of Clan Ashen from the area around Cathay and their pledge to the Council that peace was finally restored. The Clan Ashen is well known for their strong assassins guilds, and so they're a very dangerous clan and definitely tip the scales in the balance of the Council with their pledge. although the council did award Clan Pestilens in the end with a place upon the council and Warpstone tithe rights. Now that Clan Pestilens has been reunited at Skaven Blight with the rest of the Under Empire, they have been tasked with developing new plagues to unleash upon all the enemies of the Skaven. Each member of Clan Pestilens that has been the head of the clan has taken the name Nurglich as a sign of respect to their original leader back in Lustria. And this is very rare for any kind of Skaven kind, and is one of the big differences between Clan Pestilens and the others, whereas no other clan would even think of having their leader renamed after a past one. They just don't accrue that much respect to any one Skaven. Let's discuss some of the things that Clan Pestilens has accomplished in the way of plagues and different major events, and then we'll go on to how they organize themselves as a clan, their different lords, and what titles they hold, as well as what kind of units characterize their army and how they generally tend to operate on the battlefield. Of all the Skaven great clans, Clan Pestilens has probably done the most killing in the name of the Horned Rat. They've released many plagues upon the world, but their most successful plague, I should say, was the Black Plague. Released into cities of the Empire via sewers in winter, it spread like wildfire. With its massive success and the near destruction of the Empire, the clan rose greatly in power and status. You'd think that the Skaven could have enslaved the populace at this point, but were just a little too weak to do it. They didn't quite have the resources, so the council ordered a retreat back into the holes, deciding that the time of ascendancy was not quite right. You'd think that the Empire would have caught on to the existence of Skaven on a nationwide level. However, the Conspiracy of Silence, which is the Skaven's program for basically keeping the Empire and other races ignorant of their existence, is actually still going. This is all due to Clan Ashen, with their stealthy assassins basically making sure that key information and basically news of the Skaven being passed down, resources that record the Black Plague and the attacks by Clan Pestilens, are routinely destroyed so that it is kept as a myth from the general public of the Empire. Clan Pestilens wasn't done with the Black Plague though. Some 700 years later, the clan tried to unleash what was called the Red Pox onto Bretonnia, hoping to replicate the success of the Black Plague. However, this plague failed because the Bretonnian nobility had no qualms about brutal quarantines and shutting down of peasant districts and the like, because after all, they're peasants. So they managed to wipe it out. But on the other hand, the Red Pox did tend to infect the Skaven as well, and several holds of the Skaven were also wiped out. After this failure, the Council of 13 gathered, and some members demanded that the Plague Lords be taken off the council. This inadvertently started the Second Scathing Civil War, when Clan Pestilens, in fear of being kicked off the council, actually tried to seize control of the Temple of the Horned Rat in Skaven Blight. This war ended with the brief resurrection of the Horned Rat himself, and it was then that he gifted the Skaven with the Pillars of Commandments and gave ultimate authority to the Lords of Decay on the Council of 13. So that's, until that point, they had been known as the Grey Lords, but after the Horned Rat's appearance, he called them the Lords of Decay and gave them the Pillar of Commandments, as it said. And the Pillar of Commandments, if you haven't seen any of our previous videos, are pretty important. Basically, if you want to get on the Council of 13, one of the things you have to do is touch the Pillar of Commandments, which would usually kill you if you're just a normal Skaven. However, some do survive, and then your next challenge is to kill one of the lords on the Council of 13, and that hasn't happened in about 200 years, so good luck with that. It's also significant to point out, if you've seen our Clan Scryer lore video, that this was the period when Clan Scryer actually seized control of Skaven Blight for a little while, because Clan Pestilens, when they tried to seize the Temple of the Horned Rat, actually failed, and Ikit Claw and Lord Morskatar actually managed to seize the temple for Clan Scryer and basically extend their precinct within Skaven Blight, establishing many of their warp forges and extending their grasp on power let's talk a little bit about the different classes within Clan Pestilens and different titles that they offer to their members. As always, the very bottom rung are the Skaven Slaves. They basically perform all of the most dangerous, disgusting tasks. They're innumerable, as with many other large clans, and their life is very cheap, very short. They usually will never leave the disease pits and whatnot that the Clan Pestilens use for discovering and creating new diseases in their cauldrons and pits. They also have the expected clan rats, which carry out the day-to-day chores within the warrens and generally assist the plague monks in their work. It's important to note that all of Clan Pestilens members are infected by disease. It is a clan-wide phenomenon, so even the clan rats are studied by the plague monks and plague priests, and their diseases entered into a tome of all known diseases to the Clan Pestilens. Here we get into some of the more specialized classes within Clan Pestilens that set them apart. Starting at the bottom, we get the Plague Censor Bearers, and we'll look at each one of these in more detail here. But the Plague Censor Bearers at the bottom, Plague Monks, right above them, then come the Plague Priests. Then there's a series of Plague Lords, and then above all of these is the Arch-Plaguelord Nurglich. And as you remember, all of the Arch-Plaguelords take the name Nurglich as a show of respect for their original leader who brought them together in Lustria. The Plague Censor Bearers. Now, as we go over these various classes, such as the Plague Censor Bearers within Clan Pestilens, a lot of them also have social roles. So I will address the social roles as I also address their roles on the battlefield. So the Plague Censor Bearers are probably the most fanatical and deranged members of Clan Pestilens. They're given the honor of carrying a Plague Censor. Now, what is that? The Censor is a long chain with a hollowed ball on the end where nestles a plague-infected shard of warpstone, that essence of basic raw chaos energy, which burns, emitting a foul odor that enshrouds them as they fight. They often advance in front of units of plague monks while reciting the Liturgus Infecticus, and while they charge, the cloud of poisonous gas produced often proves fatal for the enemy, as it does for the Censor Bearers themselves. Even as they die, they scream their thanks to the horned rat as their lungs fill with blood and pus. Such is their devotion. So that's a huge factor when you're fighting in Clan Pestilens, is that even though their diseases are going to kill them too, they'll take you with them. And essentially, in battle, they aren't extremely fast acting, the plagues, but it stacks over time. So the longer you're in contact with them, the longer your troops are going to be taking damage and getting more and more infected. And that's a huge strategy in Clan Pestilens, just to hit you with the sheer numbers of their hordes and hordes of infected rats screaming their devotion as they die, as we just saw. Behind the Plague Censor Bearers usually come Plague Monks, and these are the particular devotees to the Horned Rat within Clan Pestilens, dedicated to creating and spreading diseases. In battle, they are the mainstay troops of the armies of Clan Pestilens, driven by a literally religious fanaticism for sickness and plague, and the grievous corruption afflicting their bodies inures them to pain and injury. A monk typically wields a dirt-encrusted fetid blades, with another such blade as a pair, or a woe stave, but if that fails, they can still gnaw their foes with their rotting but formidable fangs. Far beyond the knowledge of mankind, they cultivate diseases in the darkness of their underground strongholds. New plagues are unleashed upon their unknowing victims, using infected rats released into sewers, beneath the cities of men, bringing new and terrible afflictions upon their victims. The results are recorded in the Liber Bubonicus, a great book also known as the Book of Woe, which records all of the known diseases that the Clan Pestilens has. They wear tattered, ragged, hooded habits and bandages, favoring colors of sickly greens, purples, and blues. These bright colors contrast horribly with the foul sores and bony growths which rack their bodies. So the leaders of a unit of plague monks are called the Bringers of the Word. They carry pestilent litanies into battle. Some choose to carry plague scrolls, chanting their vile messages to weaken their foes with fevers and poxes, while others choose to wield the Books of Woe, which by reading a corrupt prayer aloud can unleash a stinking blast of disease, so you're kind of picking up that they can use plague magic. Now, the Council of 13 has declared that only 2 classes in the Under Empire can use magic legally. One is the Grey Seers, and the other is the Warlock Engineers of Clan Scryer. So the Plague Monks are a little bit of an exception in Clan Pestilens in general, because their magic isn't like the others. They can, but they don't really use Warpstone to fuel it like the other classes do, but theirs come purely from their devotion to the Horned Rat, and the Council can't really challenge that because, hey, it comes directly from the Horned Rat. Next, you get into Icon Bearers, another individual within a unit of Plague Monks. They basically carry different kinds of icons in a battle in the form of Pestilence and Contagion banners. The icons reveal that the unit of Plague Monks is infected with a highly diseased blood, while the banners give the monks the ability to bless their blades with even more contagions to use upon their foes. There's also the Plague Harbringer, which is also within a unit of Plague Monks. They are basically carry musical instruments with pestilent magic into battle. Some carry doom gongs, causing those that hear its clangs to stumble and vomit, while others pick up the bale chimes that rust and rot their foes' armors. I think that would be amazing to see in Total War Warhammer, just some rat banging on a gong and then approaching units start just vomiting all over themselves and losing HP. That'd be hilarious. Getting into the upper leadership within Clan Pestilens, we run into the Plague Priests, and the Plague Priests perform the very important role of enforcing the devotion and discipline of Clan Pestilens members, stoking their fanaticism, especially the Plague Monks, and leading the daily rituals. These involve recording new diseases and monitoring their effects on captives, Skaven slaves, and even the Plague Monks themselves. Each day they update the Books of Woe with the latest knowledge of the contagions developed by the Plague Monks. Another duty of the Plague Priest is to ensure that the cauldrons of 1,000 poxes are constantly overflowing with new and terrible diseases. They basically use the cauldron of 1,000 poxes to experiment and create new ones. Plague Priests aim to be a disgusting example of a walking vessel of disease, viewing infections as blessings from the Horned Rat, as many other members of the clan do. And in battle, they use the Scathing Civil War plague, breathing clouds of disease-ridden gas or infecting whole swaths of the enemy army with deadly diseases. Whether these powers are a blessing of the Horned Rat or simply teachings from the Book of Woe is open to debate, but it matters little to those infected. They sometimes carry plague censors or flails, better to inflict pain and disease on the enemy. They may also carry a warp scroll or a plague banner into battle. These help them spread disease and invigorate their fellow devotees. They may ride a great pox rat, which is exactly what it sounds like, or if the coming battle is of great importance, the Plague Priest may even order the construction of a plague furnace to further the spread of infection. And we'll talk a little bit later about plague furnaces because they are super cool. But Plague Priests are basically just vile living nexuses of pure filth and disease. Their censors carry pestilent magic, corrupting the flow of magic, causing nearby spellcasters to vomit, and are armed with warpstone-tipped staves. Their pestilent prayers can give them the ability to belch impossibly foul clouds, to be talked about, or curse the enemy with terrible wasting sicknesses. So essentially, something like the mage class for the Skaven of Pestilence. The Plague Lords form kind of what's the upper echelon of Clan Pestilence's hierarchy, and they work under the Arch-Plaguelord Nurglich, of course. Each of the 7 Plague Priests has a particular role in Clan Pestilence society. I'm not sure what they all mean, but here's a list of who they were and kind of what their titles were before the end times. So the first one was Skrolk. He's Master of Plague Lords, which is pretty obvious. He oversees all of the rest. The second, Scrimax, Archdeacon of Disease. The third, Grilch, Great Potentate of Pustules. The fourth, Kriegix, the Ravener. The fifth is Blistrox, Spreader of the Word and Master of Pestilent Brotherhood. Pestilent Brotherhood is basically a collection of lesser clans that's either treaty pledged or enthralled to Clan Pestilence, including the clans Fisic, Gangris, Fester, Morbidus, Septic, and Gribob. They play a pretty big role in the end times. The sixth is Verulius, Master of the Contagion Conclave, and the seventh is a big mystery. Nobody knows his name, what he does, or where he is. It's kept very close by the members of Clan Pestilence. It's a huge mystery. We've established the basic classes of Clan Pestilens. Let's move on to their specific military units. The Plague Claw Catapult. For many years, the clan has worked day and night to make the most perfect disease that will rid the world of all surface dwellers and the eventual conquest of the Scathing cause. While still failing as of yet in their contagion, the byproduct that was created during the brewing process has proven valuable as a use of war. As a result, these byproducts were used in the form of ammunition for the Plague Claw Catapult, hurling the corrosive substances at the enemy from afar, leaving whole companies of men coughing and dying by the deadly fumes that are secreted by the impact. Essentially, these are just your basic catapult that lobs masses of disease-ridden substance, slime, corrosive gel into enemy troops. So as you fight the Skaven, the battlefield just becomes clogged with this green, miry mist that spreads throughout, spreading disease amongst your troops, and this Plague Catapult helps accomplish that very, very well. Next is the Plague Furnace. It's basically a makeshift altar to the Horned Rat and a deadly weapon of disease. A Plague Priest will use a Plague Furnace sometimes as a mount in battle, crewed by 3 Plague Monks. In fact, the Plague Priest may have ordered the construction of the Plague Furnace specifically if the battle is of great importance. The Plague Furnace is completely riddled with woodworm and decay. In fact, the creaking of its wheels can be heard even in the midst of the battle. However, the great Censor, suspended from an archway of stone, is the thing that most attracts the attention of the enemy. It swings back and forth, billowing fumes so deadly that even the Plague Monks, the servants of decay who delight in infecting themselves with disease, are not immune to its effects. In fact, during the Battle of the Mists in the end times, so many plague furnaces were deployed by Clan Pestilens that the whole areas of the jungle were obscured by the deadly fog and billowing cloud of toxic fumes that could be seen for miles. They had to run basically lines of crews as new ones died from the diseases that the thing that they were pushing was putting out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is the lore that I have for Clan Pestilens. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you guys like Clan Pestilens, if you guys are Skaven fans, just leave a like down below or a comment, or both would be even better. And I will be out soon with another lore video. I only have one more great clan here, and that's going to be Clan Ashen. I might follow that up with another video just including maybe Clan Moore and Clan Rictus, because I think they deserve a mention here in the Skaven lore. And then that will probably be it for our series here. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thanks again. Bye.